Welcome to the Teachers on Fire podcast, where 21st century educators come to share, learn, and be inspired. We believe in the growth mindset, creativity, communication, critical thinking, collaboration, and strategic uses of education technology. Our mission is to share news and views from teachers who are crushing it in the classroom and making a difference for learners everywhere. I'm your host, Tim Cavey. Let's jump into today's episode. Today I'm speaking with the great Jeff Bradbury. Jeff is the host of TeacherCast. He's been recognized as an ASCD Emerging Leader. He's a Google certified teacher and trainer, PBS Learn Media digital innovator, a TEDx speaker, and much more. Jeff, thank you so much for coming on the show today. Are you ready to talk education and technology?
I certainly am.
Now, Jeff, before we got into this, you talked about just going freestyle, so you're taking me out of my comfort zone. But let's open this up by talking about podcasting. Tell us what you're doing in the podcasting space right now.
Yeah, thanks for asking. The TeacherCast network that I founded is going into its 7th year. July 11th, 2011. It was one of those weird nights I couldn't sleep. And 1 a.m, I got out of bed, and next thing you know, I had a logo, I had a domain, and as they say, the rest was history. So we're going into our 7th year. There's a lot of great things happening over at TeacherCast. We always say that it's a place for teachers to help other teachers, but my main mission is really to help every educator learn how to use digital media in their classrooms, right? Not just the word podcasting, but how to use audio, how to use video, screencasting, anything like that. How to empower students to really be able to express themselves, explain themselves, and do things just a little bit outside of the normal box.
Mm-hmm. So on TeacherCast, for those who aren't subscribed, your typical guest is a teacher, is an educational technology expert. Who are your guests and how do you go about building that podcast?
A good question there, because over the years, I found out that there's a lot of different people that listen to TeacherCast, right? Like, it's not a teacher thing. It's not an administrator thing. For that reason, over the last year, we kind of dug in and we redesigned our website, redesigned the brand, redesigned the logo. And really right now, TeacherCast is focusing on 3 main aspects of education. We have instructional technology, we have STEM education, and we have leadership, right? And within that, we've got our different channels. And actually, if you go over to iTunes now, we have 10 different shows on iTunes. So anything that you're looking for, if it's STEM education, we've got, our good friend, Dr. Sam Patterson, who uses his Beyond the Hour of Code, and he talks about coding and programming. A guy who who was on the show last week, Nick Amaral, and I are going to be resurrecting the Ask the Tech Coach. We're both technology coaches. We love that. We love helping teachers out. We're going to be spending the summer and into next year revising that. And of course, you can always go to educationalpodcasting.today to find out how to make a podcast, how to use video, audio, make a website. Lots of great things. So really, no matter who you are, we've got content for you on TeacherCast.
Fantastic. And Jeff, can you said your podcast list is now up to 10. Can you actually name all of those from memory?
Sure. I mean, TeacherCast podcast was the original, and really it just got started as, I had a question, so I brought people on to answer the question.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of grew. And then we came up with a show called the App Spotlight, which was really my infomercial. I can that because you realize it's 2018. Nobody cares what an app nor a spotlight is. Okay. So we rebranded that as the brand new show called EdTech in the Classroom.
Okay. Which
is cool because that's 2 keywords that you put in. We've got our weekly tech educator show. I'm the host of the Microsoft Education podcast called the MIE Spotlight.
Okay.
We've got Ask the Tech Coach. We got educational podcasting. We've got Tech in the Classroom. We've got a few others that are in there. So I think the answer is no. No, I can't name them all
from memory.
But that's okay, right? Like there's a lot of different stuff that's out there, and it's just and I love working with companies. I love working with teachers. I love teaching podcasters how to create their shows. there's a lot of cool things that's going on.
Well, I appreciate that. And the best place, before we move on, Jeff, the best place for people who are interested in what you're putting out there to find out more about the list of podcasts available is to go to teachercast.net. Is that right?
Yeah, we make things very, very easy. TeacherCast.net is our hub. And if you want to find me on any of the channels, it's teachercast.net/Twitter/Facebook/YouTube/iTunes/whatever, right? You can always leave me a voicemail over at teachercast.net/voicemail.
Well, love what you're putting out there. And I know you're on YouTube as well. I was showing my family. I don't know why my family was watching, but I was showing them a little bit of your video, one of your videos from the ISTE conference last week. And I love the energy, Jeff, that you bring into the profession, and just the curiosity is inspiring.
It was I always look at ISTE and we say 20,000 educators getting together,
Oh, it's awesome.
all for the good of working with their students. It's absolutely insane. This is my 6th ISTE, and amazing time.
Just before we move on from ISTE, one tweet that I saw coming out of ISTE this year was, just watch out for some of the glitter, because not every company there is necessarily fostering quality education. And I think that's really important for teachers. How do you go about sort of discerning what is helping learners here and what is just glitter, what is just a sales pitch?
So there's a saying that I like, which is everybody has 2 things, and one of them is an opinion.
Okay.
And if you just kind of keep that in mind, it's I put out a tweet, someone likes it. I put out a tweet, someone doesn't like it. Do what fits you, right? Are there people out there that are tweeting to get attention? Yeah, that's the purpose of Twitter. Right? Like you do things to get attention, or you do things to move the needle, or you do things to acknowledge people, right? And look, I'm trivializing a few of these things, of course, but the point is, a social network like Twitter is designed to get eyes on you. That's why we have things like follows and likes. Everybody has an opinion on everything. And my goal is always put your head down, be the hardest worker in the room, and make sure that whatever you're doing benefits students and really can help out. So that's why it's a place for teachers to help other teachers, because really the underlying is it's a place for students to get help and support.
Yeah, well said. It all comes back to the students. Jeff, let's talk about your instructional coaching. What sort of services do you offer, and how long have you been involved in that? What's your passion in that area?
Sure. I'm in my 3rd year right now as an instructional coach in New Jersey, and I love it because I have an opportunity to work with teachers, K-12. I've got an amazing group of people that I work with there. On the TeacherCast side, I have the ability to work with a larger sandbox, essentially, and you never know who's listening or who's watching or who's might be sharing my video to their wife, right? Like you never know all these different things, but it's great. And because of that, you focus things, but you can also be unfocused, because you never know where people might find you, or people might even out of education might find you and things. So I like being able to help anybody with whatever topics there are. And I have, we have people that email us all the time with questions and all those different things. And then I'll make a video for that person that, by the way, happens to help other people. So lots of ways that we can all share in the learning.
And that's one thing that I really notice about your work, is that you're agile and you're nimble. You adapt quickly, and I do detect that spirit of just simply wanting to help other educators, and that comes out so clearly.
I get bored. Right? Like when people say, why do you have 9 shows? I'm bored, right? Like, and that's hard to say when you're doing a lot, right? But I can spend, like yesterday I wrote 3 posts on how to make a podcast in your classroom, and today I'm going to do something completely different because my mind wanders.
And speaking of that, are you into the online course scene as well, Jeff?
There's a lot of people that are doing stuff like that, and yes, I would love to have the time to focus myself and create a 10-week online course. I started doing that this spring when I moved my newsletter over to a different service, and I got 3 emails in and said, I don't want to do this anymore. There's a lot of people out there that are selling courses, and look, everybody's got a mouth to feed, or in my case, 3. But then I look at that and I always ask the question, are teachers really spending $3.99 to go learn this Google training course from this other person?
Right.
I'm not going to do that. So why would I be spending my time making it for them? And when I ask these people, do they have clients? They go, yeah, we have like 12. And I'm going, 12 times 400 is a lot of money, but 12? 12? I'd rather create it and give it away for free. You know, here's the lesson for podcasters. Here's the lesson for bloggers. People say, do you make money from TeacherCast? And my answer is no, I don't make money from TeacherCast, but it's okay to make money because of TeacherCast, right? So maybe somebody likes, your podcast and they go, hey, why don't you come out and do consulting over here? Or why don't you come out and do this over here? Or why don't you, come and keynote this whatever, right? So I like to find ways to support my family because of TeacherCast rather than from TeacherCast, because when you come to TeacherCast, I want you just to learn.
Right.
I don't want to put up a paywall that says, in order to get this specific content, you must join the club. I don't have time for that.
Yeah.
I don't have time to build it. I don't have time to write it. I don't have time to think about it. I'd rather just make a show, make it look awesome, and run from there, right? And if you like it, cool. Bring me out to your conference or bring some, that kind of a thing.
Right. See where it goes from there.
Right.
You've also made the decision, Jeff, to avoid sponsors on your podcast. Is that right?
Yeah, well, kind of. I'm not actively seeking sponsorships. I don't like the, hey, this product is produced or is sponsored by Audible.
Right.
No, it's not. You just went to Audible and got a link, right? Like most podcasters don't know Mr. or Mrs. Audible.com, right? They're affiliate links. And I have a major problem with affiliate links because essentially you're working for another company for free with the hopes that maybe you get a $4 commission if somebody out there in the world. I don't deal with that. I don't have time to deal with that. Am I missing out? Maybe, but I don't have time to deal with that stuff. I got, I'd rather sit on the couch and play Legos with my kids.
Makes sense, Jeff. Let's shift gears a little bit and talk to that teacher who's maybe new to the profession, or maybe they've been in the profession for a while, but they're not connected. They're not learning from the global network of educators. Where do they start? Where do you send them to start growing and building a PLN?
I would tell them to talk to the Teachers on Fire podcast. It is a fantastic... I'm kidding. Where do you start, right? And it's a different answer right now. When we started 7 years ago, I got to get used to saying that. When I started 7 years ago, it was get on Twitter, lurk around, try to figure out who the players are, and get noticed. It's not a different answer than that, but it's a different answer than that, right? And it's all because of things like algorithms. Right. So it's okay to get on Twitter, find a hashtag, make some friends, do those kinds of things. But gone are the days where you can create a website, auto tweet a little bit, and then suddenly you're noticed. Right. But get out to conferences. Right. Like, EdCamps are amazing. TeachMeets are fantastic. And there's other things out there. There's ISTEs. There's, like Lego has a camp. Google has a camp. There's all these great places. You can go to your local Microsoft store and get connected with all of these things. I mean, cheap plug, education.microsoft.com has over 400,000 teachers on it with free online courses. All you have to do is put your email address in and you're signed up for this community that you can learn from. Google has something similar. Apple has something similar, right? Everybody's got these communities. Find what your hobbies are, find what your passions are, and some might say pick one. I would say pick 2, maybe 3. And then figure out what works for you. But definitely, jump in with 1, if not 2 toes. And next thing you know, you're kind of in there. But man, over the last 7 years, things have changed due to algorithms.
Yeah, and I don't know if it was on your podcast. I listened to one last week where I think it was yours actually, where a couple of guests were I won't say slamming Twitter, but they were a little bit cynical about sort of the value, and they felt like it's gone down. For someone who's not really thinking about the algorithms, what's a strategic way to get around that? Or, has it lost its value in your opinion?
There's two ways of looking at that, right? So let's look at it from the I'm a teacher
Yeah.
looking for information, and let's look at it from the I'm a content creator trying to build my brand. Has it diminished its value as a content creator?
Mhm.
Yes, absolutely it has. The way the algorithm works, I think, is in order to be put on somebody's stream, there's got to be
Right.
some kind of engagement, right? Like you can't just go on autopilot and because you're hitting hashtags expect it. So let's just say that you're following TeacherCast, but you and I have never spoke.
Yeah.
We've never had any engagement, right? I can put out 7 or 18 different things. You might only see one.
Right.
You might not see any because Twitter and Facebook are looking at what you do and they're
Yeah.
tailoring the stream for your needs. Let's say that you're following 20,000 people. You're not seeing in your stream 20,000 active users because you're seeing the ones
Yeah.
that you have interaction with, right? Which is good. So let's flip the coin, right? As a teacher looking for things, that's great because now it's a filter for me. But let's say that I'm just gonna throw a thing out there. Let's say that I want to follow Wimbledon, right? The tennis thing, right? Now I'm not interacting with Wimbledon. So because I'm not interacting with
Right.
Wimbledon, I might not see their updates. So it's a double edge there, right? So as a content creator, you can't just go on autopilot and pop stuff out. You do need to be interactive, which is why companies are turning to social media people and saying, look, manage our feed 24/7, because if we're not engaging our audience, good or bad, we're not showing up
Right.
on our feeds, on their feeds. And there's a huge shift, and that happened recently, but that could be 2 years ago. I forget when the algorithm changed, but you look at everybody's lines and curves, and even TeacherCast, we skyrocketed up past 25,000, and like for the last 2 years, it's been hard to move forward with that because the algorithms change. But that's and I would say that to any blogger, podcaster, edtech company. I mean, even the people that I do consulting with, that's the first thing that we talk about is how do you get rid of the algorithm?
Well, I think that's really good insight for educators, and particularly those that are new to Twitter, is that you will tend to see, I don't know if it's the first 20, 30 tweets you see in your feed or however that works, but you're going to tend to see the people that you've liked, retweeted, replied to, engaged with. And so as you keep seeing those same accounts, if you keep interacting with them, what you're kind of doing, or what I hear you saying, is there's a danger there of maybe building a silo of just those top accounts. Is that right?
Well, look at it this way, okay?
Mhm.
When you're finished with this podcast, turn on your phone, turn on the Facebook app, and what's the top thing that you see? For me, it's the latest post that my wife has because Facebook knows this is my wife. And so the first thing you see is, in my case, pictures of my kids, right? Now, maybe she made that post 10 minutes ago, or maybe she made that post 3 days ago. But, 9 times out of 10, the first thing that pops up when I open my Facebook app is my wife's latest posts. And because why? Facebook knows you want to interact with the people that care about you the most. So they're going to put that up top.
It's just the way,
the way the world
social
works.
Media. I remember the algorithms came to each platform, Facebook, Twitter, and maybe others that I'm not thinking of, Instagram. And there was always some pushback. But I think, my own sense, my own perspective is that, Twitter was kind of a dead place without an algorithm, when it was simply a straight real-time feed. And maybe you would disagree, Jeff, but for the small-time user, you could tweet something out and it was gone. It just disappeared. And so I kind of like the algorithm, but I think it's really important to use it intentionally and to understand how it works. And just to be mindful of the effect that you're talking about.
I was going to say, and you use that term both ways, mindful, right? So now companies have to know and mine the hashtags to then get on the hashtags. But now you're assuming that somebody is following a
Right.
specific hashtag at a conference. It's a cat and mouse. But again,
Yeah.
it's called
Yeah.
social media.
Let's shift gears a little bit, Jeff. Tell us about how you're learning this summer. What kind of new things are you into? You poked at that a little bit earlier in the interview, but what projects are you playing around with right now?
I've got a couple topics that I'm focusing on this year. One of
Mm.
those is learning
Mm-hmm.
management
Yeah.
systems. That seems to be a hot topic, right? Is Google Classroom a learning management system? Is it not a learning management system? What constitutes a learning management system? I mentioned
Yeah.
earlier that I teamed up with Nick Amaral, and he's a fantastic tech coach from not too far away from where I am, which is great. We actually met at a conference. He did a fantastic presentation on Schoology. And because of all of that, we're doing an entire summer of
Interesting.
learning management posts, right? Like, what is it? How does it work? How do you do it? So Nick and I are going to be sharing at all that stuff. And for any of the listeners out there, if anybody wants to share how they're using their learning management system, contact me. I don't want to just keep it Schoology focused, but we're going to do a lot of stuff in that area because a lot of times as you find, schools say we're moving to Schoology or we're going to use Google Classroom or and the teachers just go, okay, well, what does that mean? Right. So we're really going to be deep diving into these topics as we go through and, how do you do it? What do you do? What does it look like from the tech coach point of view? How do you create, a professional development network through a learning management system? So check out the stuff that Nick's going to be giving us over on TeacherCast.net. We've got a few posts up there; they're fantastic, and looking forward to that. I'm also looking to learn about SISs. Right, had a fantastic time at ISTE talking to Power School, and I realized that as a teacher and as a tech coach, I don't know the world of student information systems. So I'm going to be learning a little. Forward to that. And of course, as a tech integration specialist, I'm looking forward to learning more about that world. So again, Nick and I are going to be working on the Ask the Tech Coach podcast and the brand for that. So lots of great stuff there. And I'm looking forward in the next couple of weeks to going down to Philadelphia to Podcast Movement. I've got a panel discussion on the main stage of Podcast Movement. I can't wait. It's gonna be there. It's gonna be fantastic. So looking forward to getting outside the education world and really just to see, like you got ISTE and you got Podcast Movement. They're literally the same thing in two different venues, right? Two different avenues. So it's just a matter of that, right? And other than that, I look forward to learning how to read. My 4-year-olds right now are picking up words slowly. And I'm learning how to read, right? Because if you can learn how to read, I've got these 4-year-olds that the words are just popping out and the syllables. And you drive down the road, and my little one goes, "Daddy, I want pizza," because he's looking at the sign and he's reading the word, right? And these are things that you can't teach in college. You just have to be a parent, and you go, "Oh, he's now reading." And so we play this game where we through Apple TV, I pop my computer up on the big TV and I open up a Google Doc or something and I just start typing in words and they're shouting the words out to me on the TV. I'm fascinated by this. I'm truly like I'm just dumbfounded by what they're doing right now. And so I want to learn everything I can about child development.
If I could just double back to, I love the child development stuff, Jeff. If I could just double back to the LMS situation, I feel like a good video for Jeff Bradbury would be a comprehensive breakdown of all of the major LMS platforms, pros and cons. I think that would be a good project for you. Have you thought about doing something like that? I mean, there's FreshGrade, which we hear a lot about, Seesaw, Schoology. That was the first vote. Hearing Nick Amaral talk about Schoology, the first vote for that one that I've come across. Of course, Google Classroom, and there's probably a couple of others that I'm forgetting about. But I think one problem for educators is none of us are in all of those spaces. So it would be interesting to see the pros and cons.
But you don't have a choice, right? Like a teacher, it will never be asked, what would you rather have, Schoology or
Right.
Canvas, right? And so my job is to bring that to you. Now I'm sitting here scrolling through TeacherCast because I know last year we did a show where we actually were able to get 5 learning management systems on the same podcast, and it was fantastic. Of course, I can't find it right now, but we'll find it for the show notes. It was a great show, right? Because when when we do our shows, it's like there is no ego. We're not promoting Schoology. We're not promoting Canvas. We're talking about how can teachers use the platform. And we got 5 great companies to come on and agree to shake hands and hug at the end. And they each got their plug on the show. I hate to say it, some companies didn't want to play the game. Okay. Okay, fine, right? But with all of that stuff, it's a matter of teachers don't have the option, right? They're given this platform. Like no teacher goes and nobody ever says, would you like to go Microsoft or would you like to go Apple? Those are decisions far above our pay grade. But now that you have it, how do you use it? What do you do once you got it? And especially for the tech coach, how do you make sure that the investment is being seen in the classrooms? And I if there's a video out there for that, I would love it.
All right. Well, we'll keep an eye out for that, and definitely if you do find that podcast, Jeff, I'd love to take a listen. So pass that link along or point me in the right direction. We talked before the show about personal professional branding. What do you have to say on that topic, and how do you advise people when it comes to building their personal brand? Or some people really hate that expression, but building their online presence.
If it's not for you, don't do it. It's a weird way to start the conversation, right? But many people just want to get a website and make a little blog. Great. Don't listen to the next 5 minutes of our conversation here, right? But if you're looking to do things, then it is a topic to look into, right? What is a brand? And I was speaking with some of my writers recently, and they said, well, let's just do mygoldendeliciousapple.com. Looking at my logo when I say this. Great. But when somebody goes and does a Google search for you, are they going to type in my golden delicious apple, or are they going to type in Jeff Bradbury? And it's a matter of when you're looking at a brand or making a website or finding a Twitter feed or whatever it is, it's having the ability to do the research and say, okay, this is what I want to be seen by, known by. Is it available is the first question, right? There's a reason why I'm not TeacherCast.com. It was taken. And it's never in 7 years done anything. Like somebody is sitting there waiting for me to have this domain, right? But and hence that was the history behind the TeacherCast.net, is because the .com was taken. But when you're looking at that stuff, is it Jeff Bradbury? Well, I couldn't get Jeff Bradbury, so I had to get Jeffrey Bradbury, or you had because other people might have your name. There's a lot of things that goes into personal branding, right? Like again, you finding your domain, your Twitter name. I always say start with your domain because that's the hardest, right? Like get your .com, your .me, your .org. And figure out what you want to do. TeacherCast came because I had this vision of an apple, right? The apple came because, and I'll make the story very short, but because a buddy and I had a podcast together, and in the podcast, it was the #1 tech podcast at the time for Google Plus. And because at the time, the podcast logo had the official apple in it, like the apple in it. He was kicked off of iTunes. He lost all of his feed. He lost all of his subscribers, followers. So there's a hidden story with my success here, because that apple isn't the apple, but it really is a yours to Apple, because he kicked my friend off of, or they kicked my friend off of that. So there's a hidden message in all of that stuff. But it even with the rebrand, like I knew over the last year, I wanted to have the website look completely different. But when I was working with my design team, I said, I don't know what this looks like until I have the logo. And they said, no, we'll get the logo in time. We're going to build the website. I said, you don't get it.
Right.
You got to have the vision before you get the content, right? And it's the same idea. Okay, today I'm going to write a podcasting blog post. Well, now I can get the topics, but I'm not the one to sit down and say, let's just podcast, right? Like, and this is kind of why I like going off on this format here. Like, we have a topic, let's talk. We have a show, let's have a topic, right? Like all these different things. So I think that's a long form way of saying just have a vision for what you want to be perceived as, and don't let anybody stop you. Run for it. And if you're looking for resources and, the people that I look up to, email me, feedback@teachercast.net or teachercast.net/voicemail. Would love to have you guys chime in and I'm happy to talk about these topics. I love talking personal branding and marketing.
That's so good, Jeff. And don't let me speak for you, but what I hear there is also don't sort of just jump into content production just for the sake of it. Think about you mentioned your mission, your vision. Think about exactly how you're trying to help, what value you're adding. Is that fair to say?
It is, but the other fear is the other thing in here is do it for yourself. When it really boils down to it, TeacherCast is my handbook, right? Everything that I go out and I work with my teachers on, every time I go out and I work with a company or I have a conversation, TeacherCast is my handbook. Right. And you said it, you just said it. Hey, I wish there was a way to learn about all the learning management systems. And I went, oh, yeah. I have that. And if I don't have that, great. But if you, again, TeacherCast started because I wanted to create content for myself so that way I could learn about it and then share it with other people. I didn't start by saying, what does the world need? Now, look, there's plenty of people that'll tell you, find a niche, like go make the left-handed smoke shifter blog because that's where you're going to find ads and revenue. Those people are making money. I'm not. No, I'm kidding. But seriously, the way is like TeacherCast is 100% self-serving. It just so happens that the topics resonate with a lot of people. But every time I do a show, it's because I want to learn something or somebody says, hey, how about it? And I go, I don't know. Let's do a show. So, it's your passion, right? Like you're doing this show because you want to meet people. You want to share other people's stories. You want to do all these great things. So this is your handbook, right? Nick has his handbook, right? Jamie Keats has his handbook at teachers.tech. There's a lot of great things that are out there, but create it for yourself and then you'll never get bored.
Wow, what a great note to end on. I've sort of moved into creating mode, Jeff, in the last year. I'm late to the party by when I compare myself to you for sure, but I've started writing, obviously podcasting, and I think, wow, you just said it so well. I just about got chills there, but yeah, you've got to start from a place of personal passion, and the people will come. The audience will come, but start from that place of personal passion and add value for yourself first and then build up from there. Jeff, this has been so fantastic. I'm in awe, man. You offer so much value in the educational space. Thank you so much for coming on, man.
Thank you so much for having me. And I love your show. You're doing some great stuff. I hope everybody has a chance to check out all of the back shows because it's not easy being a podcaster, especially a podcaster starting off. You've got some awesome guests. And I just, please, if you're new to the show here for Teachers on Fire, check out this guy's backlinks. Lots of great stuff that's going out there, man. And congratulations on the success of your show.
Wow. I really appreciate that. And yeah, absolutely. Go back and take a listen to previous episodes. Speaking of that though, Jeff, what are the best ways for the audience to follow your stuff? Where should we already mentioned teachercast.net? Where else should they go?
I always say I don't make websites. I make media hubs or digital hubs or whatever, things like that. TeacherCast.net has literally everything that's out there. But again, all you have to do is type in teachercast.net/iTunes/YouTube/Facebook/ just, contact me. I never turn down content for a podcast. Okay. And if you're out there and you want a guest blog post about something that's awesome in your world, cool.
Well, Jeff, it's been such a pleasure to make your acquaintance today. Thanks again for coming on and enjoy the rest of your summer and enjoy podcast movement there in Philly. That's right in your neighborhood, right?
I'm looking forward to it, man.
All right. Take care, Jeff. Thanks for listening to this episode of Teachers on Fire, where teachers come to share, learn, and be inspired. Please subscribe to the podcast, leave us a review on iTunes, and follow us on Twitter at Teachers on Fire. I'm your host, Tim Cavey, saying goodbye for now, and we'll catch you next time, right here on the Teachers on Fire podcast.